Today on Locked On Rockies, the first moves of the DePodesta era have been made. Let's break it all down. And my one hope for this offseason, above all else, make it interesting.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 19th day of November in the year 2025. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can listen to me fight my audio setup. Apologies again, as I'm fighting the audio bugs sometimes. It's a one-man show around here, unfortunately, so there's sometimes only so much I can do. So I appreciate your patience here, rocking and rolling with me as we are reacting to the Rockies making their first series of roster moves, including a trade and the DFAing of a couple of top prospects. Plus, above all, I just want this offseason to be an interesting one. And interesting can mean a variety of things. We're going to dive into all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we go any further, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 in, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. I am, of course, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Rockies talk here, bringing you this Rockies podcast for 5 seasons, going on 6 seasons now, tracking and trailing through what has been a bit of a slog of a few seasons for the Rockies. But you folks have been tuning in and hanging out and are a part of why Locked On is now the #1 sports podcasting network. So shout outs to all of you. Shout outs to the everydayers. So big flurry of moves as Purple Row headlines this piece. Colorado Rockies make flurry of roster moves from Renee Deckard. And here is the summary here real quick. Acquired left-handed pitcher Brennan Bernardino from the Boston Red Sox in exchange for outfielder Braden Ward. Selected the contract of left-handed pitcher Wellington Herrera. Selected the contract of right-handed pitcher Gabriel Hughes. Selected the contract of outfielder Sterling Thompson. And then the DFAing of Ryan Rollison and Michael Toglia. So the Rockies making their protections there for the Rule 5 draft with Herrera, Hughes, and Thompson. And then, of course, the DFAing of Rollison and Toglia. The time in the organization does not necessarily mean it is over for those players, but those are top prospects that the Rockies were unable to really get much out of, as Rollison, with the injury and not being able to bounce back too well after that, especially with being placed into the bullpen as well. And we all saw what happened with Michael Toglia, despite being the starting first baseman for the Colorado Rockies in 2025. It just, to me, Michael Toglia does, I don't know. The advanced metrics, the strikeouts, the whiffing, the chasing, the problems are abound with Michael Toglia. But to me, he fits very primely in the candidates, or in the slot of guy goes to a different team and is successful. Successful, again, being a definition that can mean a lot of different things. I'm saying successful, a contributor, a positive WAR player. Doesn't necessarily, I'm not sitting here saying all-star or multi-WAR, but it could be a solid bench option, a DH option for someone if they're able to figure out the strikeouts and the issues there. Or on the flip side here, I mean, he will remain within the Rockies system if someone does not pick him up. Same with Rollison here, but I think what's the tougher, what's a bummer about these is just where these guys were taken. And again, these were guys that were projected, and what we were told was, wait and see. This is what we got. We got guys coming up. These are going to be the impact guys. And what's really frustrating, especially in the Toglia situation, is it's just we saw there's been too many times that we've seen moments or glimpses or a little sliver of possibility or of a solid run for your Rockies young player. And then the Rockies are unable to get him to replicate that. And again, that's not just on the Rockies. It's certainly the player has to do it as well. They are the one performing the actions. But again, when it comes to that actual development, I mean, these are top level picks here. My mic falls down on me here, but just to go back to the Purple Row piece to just kind of highlight some of what these happened there. I'm sorry. These I believe it was 2018 and 2019 that these guys were selected here. I'll bring up my Twitter here so I can get the right drafts. But I mean, these are guys that are supposed to. It's just been far too often that the Rockies have not found any sort of success with some of these top level picks, with some of these guys really going pretty with a whimper. It's pretty. That's like one of those things that is really jarring about these types of things. It's just like, man, was it a miss in the selection, which it certainly could have been, but then it was like, okay, what went wrong in the development process? What weren't you able to do? What wasn't happening for you for these guys? And let's see, Tolia was the 2019 number 1 draft pick, and the 2018 and then so 2018 Ryan Rollison as well. I mean, these are first round draft picks, and it's baseball. I understand that, but early round draft picks, I mean, it has just been so far since one of those has made a huge impact for the Rockies. Now, it certainly can change. Charlie Condon there had a very strong Arizona fall league. There could be some excitement there. Absolutely. But that's kind of one of that's the tough pill to swallow about this too. It's just like, man, that's tough. For the fall off to be that much for Michael Toglia, and I'm sure that there are people that probably were deep in the numbers and were ahead of it and were on it and skeptical, certainly. But it's just like, who I'm trying to think of the last Rockies top draft pick that's really of late of the past, in the 2020s or the 28 take from 2017 up to now or something like that, basically since the playoff days. Who has been the high draft pick? Where did Hunter Goodman get drafted? Let's see. Hunter Goodman draft. Hunter Goodman, 4th rounder there. Rockies top draft picks last 10 years. Let's do that. I should have looked this up before. But so this is from Thomas Harding here on July 15th, 2024. So obviously this is it doesn't include this year's draft, but obviously we're not counting we're way too early for these players. But Charlie Condon, of course, is the one to look at. Chase Dolander. I'm still very much I'm not out on Chase whatsoever. I think that he's going to be one of my top Rockies to watch throughout the spring and the season next year, just to see what do the changes, what does all the overhaul for the Rockies mean, and what does it look like for him, and how does he attack the offseason, and how does he attack next season with the knowledge that he has about pitching at altitude and pitching against major league talent, and good major league talent as that. 2022, Gabriel Hughes. 2021, Benny Montgomery. 2020, Zach Veen. I mean, obviously these guys are both of these guys, Veen and Montgomery, are kind of like, what's happening there, especially Montgomery. Veen, interesting that we never saw another shot, but he's one of many outfielders in the depth there. And then 2019, Michael Toglia. 2018, Ryan Rollison, and then Ryan Vialde there in 2017, and Riley Pint in 2016. I mean, we're talking about near a decade here where and then let's go and then Brendan Rodgers in 2015. So when you're looking at top draft picks for the Rockies that paid off for them, John Gray in 2013, Kyle Freeland in 2014, Tyler Anderson has ended up crafting a pretty good career for him, but not necessarily with the Rockies here. Kyle Parker, Tyler Matzik. I mean, it has been far and few in between that the Rockies have been able to, draft successfully early on and get these guys to be solid contributors at the major league level. And the verdict is very much still out on all the players that were acquired throughout the Schmidt era and the end of the Bridich era as well. That's pretty eye-opening. When you look at this, when you look at and you see some names and you see some stuff that you certainly should be excited for, but there are a lot of guys in this organization that were drafted high and have not been able to spark a fire and light a fire through their development, with the exception of probably Charlie Condon here, who is I think had the lull, but certainly been making a lot of noise of late. So one of the things that's going to be one of the things we need to see in this as things are changing with the Colorado Rockies is better drafting. I mean, we got a Holiday in the mix, right? We got Chase Dolan, we got some guys here. You can't miss out. And it's just pretty eye-opening to see. Pretty interesting to see there. The Rockies making a trade here today as well. Well, as of recording, we're going to talk about that. And hey, this is a sneaky, small, low-level move that we could be looking at in the middle of the season saying, not bad at all. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action other than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push, or you got a great team like the Denver Nuggets that are always putting on a show each and every night. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Yes, that's right. When your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app for live game bets, for parlays, for whatever you can think up. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We are also brought to you by Doer, and I want to bring up my shirt here. I got my hoodie on today, but I am absolutely pumped about my Doer flannel here. This flannel has been perfect as the weather has been changing. Not too heavy where I'm sweating and I'm super uncomfortable, but it's keeping me nice and warm and cozy when those autumn breezes hit. Plus, I got my new favorite pair of jeans there. Perfect for going out and hitting the trails, hitting anything here. As you all know, you can't, no matter what time of year it is, when the weather's good enough, you get out there and enjoy it. And with Doer jeans, they're going to feel stretchy without looking stretchy, and they bring the best of both worlds, comfort and performance, and classic jeans wear style. So you're getting that from the athletic wear, you're getting it from the jeans, in a perfect combo. They're going to be perfect for your holiday gifts or your next camping trip. Doer are pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing. They invented the original performance denim. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without having to sacrifice style. And you can check out Doer in store here in Denver. It's at 2621 Laramie Street. Pick up a pair for yourself, or as an amazing holiday gift, mention my promo code LOCKEDONDenver in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopduer.com/LockedOnDenver for 15% off. That's shopduer.com/LockedOnDenver. Locked On Rockies here, back with you all, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies, just like so many of you have, and it's just like so many of you hanging out with us here, as all of your support has helped made the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the world. I believe it's the world. We're #1. How about that? That's all that matters. Folks, we are talking about the Rockies roster moves. We're talking about the Rockies, of course, drafting, unable to get that talent. It's a bummer to see those names go. Hey, you rewind the tape, you go look back at last offseason, you look at stuff leading into the season last year, you were hearing me talk highly of Michael Toglia, and it didn't work out. You'd also hear me talk highly about the starting rotation, didn't work out. But when you go through, like we were saying there in that first segment, when you go through all those names and all those draft picks, and that's not to mention, those were obviously all the top draft picks, first rounders and stuff. To be that unsuccessful with the development of the talent, just that's obviously one of the canaries in the coal mines we should have known, and people probably did know going through the last regimes of the Rockies there. Can't mention they are in a crucial spot here with Dollander and Condon there. Really need to see something from this guy. And of course, it's got to be tough to make those decisions, but it's also one of those ones where it's like, if that's proper evaluation, I mean, they're coming in and making the tough decisions about the roster here as they're, making the decisions on who to protect, who's going to be moving on, who to make available in the Rule 5 draft. And again, DFA doesn't mean they're out of the system altogether. And who knows, just like we're saying with these other guys benefiting from some change of from coaching and philosophy, maybe these guys will too. But I believe it was someone, I can't remember who pointed this out, one of the Rockies media members pointing out that Tolio various tied to Bill Schmidt. So I wonder if that relationship not being there, wonder what that looks like and wonder what that means for the Rockies here as well. That wasn't the only moves. Of course, the Rockies making a trade, acquiring Brennan Bernardino from the Boston Red Sox in exchange for outfielder Braden Ward here. And again, we go back to Renee Descartes' piece on Purple Row. Colorado Rockies make flurry of roster moves. The trade with the Red Sox was unexpected and marked DePodesta's first baseball trade in 20 years. Left-handed pitcher Brennan Bernardino has worked mostly as a middle reliever. The 33-year-old has a 3.47 ERA, 155.2 innings pitched, 60 earned runs, 1 save, 68 walks, and 157 strikeouts in 169 career Major League games, 12 starts over parts of 4 seasons with Seattle and Boston. In 2025, he earned a 3.14 ERA over 51 2/3 innings and 18 earned runs there, 1 save, 26 walks, and 43 strikeouts in 55 games, including 3 starts with the Red Sox. Bernardino was especially effective against lefties, holding them to 211, 276, 336. StatCast shows he has a 4-pitch mix, including a sinker, curveball, cutter, and slider. This is a move that I like. I mean, that's sneaky. That's a sneaky little ad of a veteran bullpen arm into that certainly will help the Rockies. That's not like and of course it comes at the cost of an outfield prospect that you didn't really have any time, any space for, and an outfield prospect that hasn't necessarily, blown your socks off and forced his way onto the field here. And what's nice about this here now, when you're talking about looking at the possibilities here, a couple of starts under the belt for Bernardino here. We know the Rockies starting rotation could be thin. The Rockies could be in an interesting situation where they might need to rely on some bullpens, maybe some openers. Who knows how the rotation actually ends up shaking out. And the career numbers are not too shabby. Again, not going to blow you. It's not blowing your socks off here, but this is a solid a left-handed pitcher here, a veteran guy that's worked in a couple of different environments and been able to pick up a couple of things here. Especially if he's able to stay successful against lefties, if you have a little bit of a specialist like that, someone that you can come in, you're going up against an opponent here. It's the 8th inning. You got a 1-run, 2-run lead, and the part of the lineups coming up is lefty heavy. Boom, you got a guy that can come in and be able to go out there and be aggressive towards lefties, and that's a nice little mix up to have there. These are the small type of moves that usually, we don't always blow up, but the Rockies have found success in some of these, waiver claims, lower level trades, kind of shuffling the deck a little bit here. And I think this is going to be one that we could be. Again, I'm not sitting here and saying Cy Young or an All-Star or anything like that, but we could be sitting here and saying, hey, that was a nice little move to shore up a bullpen a little bit, give it a little bit more veteran presence, give you a little bit more of a guy that's been there a couple of times, mixed with the possibilities of some starts. And if he's able to sit with that, kind of in that mid-3 ERA, and has a strikeout abilities here, like we said, 55 games here, 43 strikeouts in 55 games, 26 walks. Obviously, something I'm of the belief the lower the walks, the better. But that's sometimes that's going to be. But almost 20 more strikeouts to walks there, so pretty solid with the ratio there. 4-pitch mix, why not? Especially when you're talking about this is a move that the Rockies not necessarily having to go and make a big swing at here. Braden Ward here says this is what Renee has to write. He was the Colorado Rockies 2021 MLB draft 16th round pick and an alumnus of the University of Washington. Ward was caught up in a farm system with outfield options drafted before him. He spent 2025 with the AA Hartford Yard Goats and the AAA Albuquerque Isotopes. A speedy utility outfielder, Ward hit 290, 395, 391 this season across 307 at-bats with 61 strikeouts to 35 walks. Ward's plate approach was to get on base and let his legs do the talking. He stole 57 bases and legged out 4 triples. Tough there, and when if you've listened to the show, if you're curious, one of the stuff that I really like and I really hope is part of the next version of Rocky's success. I like speed. I like base running aggression. I like teams that have guys that immediately are factors when they get on because they cause some, they can cause some havoc there on base running. And that's not a bad season as well there. It's just interesting to see, the Rockies unable to kind of find much of a spot there, even though that's a line that kind of surprised with where the Rockies were at, didn't justify maybe a cup of coffee there, especially when they were looking for speed utility type guys. How many though speedy utility or utility guys are on the Rockies roster right here? So for Braden Ward, he gets an opportunity hopefully there to make it in the Red Sox organization and system, and the Rockies are able to pick up a little bit of bullpen help, which is something that's not too shabby, not too bad. Again, don't think it's going to be a total game changer, but I think this does have a possibility of one of those moves that could help the Rockies. And hey, you never know. Could it lead to potential trade baits? As you always know, people are looking for bullpen help in the middle of the season here. Just a little bit more from Renee on some of the other players here that the Rockies selected the contracts of. Wilton Herrera, the 21-year-old lefty pitcher, has made 157 appearances over his minor league career, 88 walks to 309 strikeouts with a 3.27 ERA from 2021 to 2025. He was in High A Spokane and Double A Hartford last year, and he was starting to get some accolades here, as Renee points out. Named to the 2025 MLB Futures Game and pitched for Salt River in the Arizona Fall League, where he went 0-1 with 1 save and a 2 ERA over 9 innings and 2 earned runs with 14 strikeouts in 9 outings. Not too shabby. Hey, the Fall League seemed like it was a pretty good experience and a good little spotlight for the Rockies there. Gabriel Hughes also had his contract picked up. The Rockies' first-round draft pick in 2022 has struggled with injuries, but began to find his footing in 2025 after recovering from Tommy John. The 24-year-old righty has a 4.89 ERA, 175 innings pitched, 95 earned runs, 65 walks, 172 strikeouts, and 39 starts in the major leagues from 2020 to 2025. In 2025, he made 24 starts between AAA Albuquerque, AA Hartford, and the ACL Rockies. He earned a 4.19 ERA in that time. And Sterling Thompson was the last one here. Thompson has played in 359 games in the minor leagues from 2022 to 25, slashing 279, 360, 459 with 218 runs, 138 extra base hits, and 44 stolen bases. Was with the Isotopes last season. So Rockies, those are the contracts they select. We'll see if any of those guys, what type of impact they have as they try to fight and work their way to the roster, and especially as spring is going to be sooner than we think. But there's a lot of offseason left. And my main thing here, and it started a little bit today, I just hope it's an interesting one this offseason. Back here on segment number 3 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. And my closing thoughts as we see the Rockies make some moves and set the off season ablaze here for the Colorado Rockies is, I just hope it's interesting. I hope the Rockies can be connected to some players, or at least be in some negotiations, make some more trades here, even if it's not going to be the most exciting things. Shuffle up the deck a little bit, show us what type of players that DePodesta and his new team are looking for. Show us what type of philosophy, or just generate a little buzz here outside of just the front office changes. The Rockies aren't going to probably go out and get Alonso or any of these big name free agents, but it would be nice for them to just generate some sort of energy around the team here throughout this offseason. Of course, an interesting offseason makes my job easier. And of course, there's a little bit of that selfish thing, but I think the Rockies are historically, too quiet in the offseason. I think that's an obvious thing. But as much as I'm saying this, what also makes this offseason interesting in general, as we're just going to see, what does the contracts, what does the CBA, how much does that impact deals that are being done this year? How much does that impact teams' approaches and philosophies? And how much does that impact the Rockies here as well? I don't think we're obviously going to get a bunch of answers to that. Maybe we will. I don't know necessarily what the transparency level and the insight will be into that type of stuff. But I just want there to be a little bit more life and energy here. And this, hey, a trade, DFAing some top level prospects, signing some obviously the DFAing and the contracts are stuff that everybody's got to do, considering you had a roster deadline that you had to meet. But a little early trade here, and just I think that's just the type of stuff where you're just like, okay, like, hey, that raise the eyebrow a little bit. I don't think the Rockies are going to pull off any moves or any changes that's going to make next year, a much better place. But when you look at these types of moves, that's a solid little move there. That's a good way to dip the toe into the water of figuring out trades and figuring out how to making the moves and what you and how to build the roster your way. But I think that's just one thing that's been, one thing that was nice about, obviously, we're talking about optimism earlier, right? We were talking about what to be kind of looking forward to. I think that's part of it too. With all of this change, I hope that's what's also being ushered in here is interesting off seasons where they can start getting tied, especially. And I want to dive deeper into this. This actually might be worth trying to reach out to Locked On Pirates to talk about. When you hear the Pirates are ready to start spending, right? When you hear that they're ready to start going in, and the Mariners are able to get Naylor early, and they're able to teams are looking at their moments and seemingly trying to capitalize on. Obviously, it's the beginning of the offseason. The Pirates reportedly offering Naylor a bunch more money, being that aggressive already. Man, I'd love for the Rockies to get to that point. I'd love for the Rockies to get to a point where they can be aggressive to try to land one or two of the big fish. Maybe not the biggest fish, but the big fish of free agency, and kind of reset the expectations for the Rockies and going out there and acquiring talent in the post Chris Bryant contract world. But there's obviously a lot of work and a lot of development and a lot of things that have to happen before the Rockies are going to be starting making those type of significant splashes. I just hope that the new front office keeps things interesting in the offseason and drums up some ways to draw up some buzz as this Rocky team can, embraces the analytics more and starts looking at the game in a different way. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. That's going to do it for us here on the show today. Fire off your Rockies hot takes. We'll keep you updated with all things Colorado Rockies baseball throughout the offseason, and I want to know what's on your mind, so fire it off in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. If you need a second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. And we got you covered with all Colorado sports action here. Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on YouTube as well. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.